Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed participants, and our 250 host colleges, welcome to this session. We are honored to have you all here, eager to engage and learn. Our gratitude goes to each of the host colleges for their active involvement in making this event possible. Brainovision Solutions India Private Limited, established in 2016, bridges software development and technical education in the corporate sector. Partner with All India Council for Technical Education. They align workshops, internships, and faculty programs for accreditation. With 500 plus workshops, 200 plus hackathons, and 100 plus faculty programs, they have upskilled over 2 lakh students, fostering industry ready professionals. Operating as a hub for brands, students, and faculty, they offer a tailored solutions, software solutions, industrial training, and seamless talent acquisition. Brainovation's effort harmonize education with industry, advancing India's tech sector. Their collaborations underscore dedication to nurturing technical progress and fostering technology advancement.
हल्दीराम कौन लीजिए थे जबलपुर में रहते जो जबलपुर में रहते थे वही है ना अच्छा हाँ
गावामध्ये पण आता सगळं मिळते त्यांना, रोडवर सगळे दुकानं वगैरे लागली.
It is an immense pleasure to welcome our resource person, SSV Saravi ma'am. Her expertise and insights promise to enrich our understanding and art significance. We eagerly anticipate your enlightening contributions.
Good evening, everybody. I hope I'm audible to all of you. And I cannot share my screen yet because I'm not co-host. Just give me a second. Can you all see my screen? Is my screen visible to you all?
Yes.
So I hope everybody has created their AWS accounts. Please raise your hands. Whoever created their AWS accounts, please. Can you please raise your hands? How many of you have actually created your AWS management consoles? Who have AWS accounts, please raise your hands. Today we are jumping ourselves into a concept called EC2. So where we launch some virtual servers. So EC2 is nothing but Elastic Compute Cloud. So this is where we launch virtual servers and we connect to them properly in order to do so many things like deployment or to maintain production instances and all, in order to make any website stable and highly available for the public. We use this Elastic Compute Cloud to launch our servers and create a website out of it. Okay, so without wasting any time, let me start ahead with this Elastic Compute Cloud. So the ability of AWS to launch n number of servers within few minutes is called as compute capacity of EC2. So EC2 is like a backbone of AWS, like it is interlinked with so many other services like VPC, RDS, S3, IAM and all. So how did this elastic property has come to this EC2? We'll see it now. So can you tell me that with, for example, if I give you a case of 8 GB and 2 TB hard disk system, can you change the configuration of this machine without physically touching it? Can we change the configuration of this machine without physically touching it? An 8 GB and 2 TB hard disk? Is it possible to change the configuration of this machine without physically touching it? No, right? It is not possible. So now, in the same case, I'm going to give you, I'm giving again 8 GB and 2 TB hard disk. But now I'm attaching something called a pen drive here of maybe 32 GB. A pen drive of maybe 32 GB. Now, in this case, elasticity is possible or not? Is elasticity possible in the second case or not? Of course, it is possible, because we can always, why it is possible in the second case? Can you tell me why it is possible in the second case? Because in second case, the resources that we are using are external resources. Yes or no? Unlike the first case where the resources are internal. So because of this, elasticity is possible in the first case. So how did this elasticity property came to EC2 is the biggest question. Like, for example, if I go to any, Reliance Digital or any store where I can buy a laptop, like if I ask for, what are the 4 things basically we look into to buy a laptop? If you want to buy a laptop, can anybody tell me that first? Like basic things. What are the 4 basic things that any computer would require in order to work properly? We would require,
Configuration.
yes, configurations. We would require CPU. We
RAM.
would require RAM.
ROM.
We would require hard disk, like how you are telling it in the chat box. And we require an OS.
Size
All the
capacity.
remaining things, all the remaining things, you know, be it graphic card or you know, how good your display is or the inches of your display, all those things will change how which i3 is it i3 or i5 or i7. It depends on you know, the budget that you are planning to put in. So how this elasticity property came to EC2 is AWS allows us to choose whatever CPU we want, whatever RAM we want, whatever OS we want, and whatever hard disk we want according to our requirement. So this combination, this allowment to choose whatever we want gives us the required configuration here for our project or anything that we are planning with. This gives us the required configuration. We call this as required configuration. So this required configuration is nothing but an EC2 instance, we call it. So be it EC2 instance or a server or CRAM or box machine, whatever the terminology that we use, basically we are referring it to the virtual server. Okay, so let us know what are all these called in AWS terminology, because AWS follows a Linux naming convention. So these have different naming systems in AWS. So let us know what are these called as in AWS in the first sense. So basically OS is called as an Amazon Machine Image, AMI. It is called as Amazon Machine Image technically. And we know what is a OS and also no more introduction requires for that. And we get CPU and RAM in a combo. So this CPU and RAM combination is called as instance type. I request everybody to stay on mute, and if you have any questions, please ask them at the end of the session. Please stay on mute and thank you. So this is CPU and RAM, which is called as instance type. So you might ask me, you just said that we can choose whatever RAM and CPU we want, and now you're telling that we can get it only in a combination. So I know that I'm contradicting my statement, but what happened is when the cloud technology is very new to the market, people didn't know how to use it properly. They didn't know for how much CPU, what RAM is required. For example, possible to work? You tell me, for 1000 CPU, 1 RAM, does it work properly? No, right? It is like attaching some a very big bus engine or an lorry engine to a bike handle. It cannot handle that much of processors within the given RAM. Or you tell me for 1000 RAM, can we have a single CPU processor? One CPU processor for 1000 GB of RAM? It is of a wasted resource. These are all disastrous combinations. So that's why AWS only nations, which we call it as instance type, and the regular instance type that we use, which is under free tier, is T2.micro. Anyway, I'll be showing it to you when we connect to our console. So this is called as CPU. CPU and RAM combination is called as instance type, and the regular instance type that we use is called as T2.micro, which is a free tier eligible one, because all we want to do is use resources but still clear of the bills. And now the last remaining technical thing that you need to know about is hard disk, what it is called as. So hard disk is called as EBS, so Elastic Block Store. Elastic Block Store. So we know, since it is a storage module, it is called as store, and we know the elasticity property, why any of the services are having this elasticity, because AWS is basically divided into two types. So these two types are called as block storage and object storage. And object storage. So block storage is nothing but where we store our C drives, like where we store our databases and OS. So here we can store OSs and databases. So by this time you would have already understood which drive represents this particular thing. And in the object storage, all the kinds of file types that we use here. So be it JPG, PNG, TXT. I recommend everybody to use earphones, and everybody please stay on mute. JPG, PNG, TXT, PDF, CSV, XLSX, MP3, MP4, whatnot, all the kinds of stuff. All the kinds of extensions are stored in object kind of storage. So the drives that are representing the block storage are the C drive. So C drive represents the block storage, which is also called as bootable drive, because it has the bootable properties. And the object drive represents by the other drives, which are D, E, and F. And if it is a virtual one, Google Drive comes as an example for this. So this is what the basic things before jumping into the hands-on we need to know. So these are all the technical terms you would require in order to understand our hands-on session. So OS is called as AMI, which is bootable properties are nothing but, whenever we need to restart or reboot our system, all our drives are not getting rebooted. Only C drive is rebooted because it has the operating system and all the apps installed inside C drive. So that's why that particular drive is called as bootable drive. So CPU and RAM is called as instance type. So the regular instance type that we use along with the free tier option is T2.micro. Hard disk is called as EBS, Elastic Block Store, and we call drives as root drives, and storage as volumes here because AWS follows Linux naming convention. So these are the only things that you would require in order to understand today's session. So without wasting any time, let's go ahead and start launching a Windows instance. So let's launch a Windows instance. So let's launch a Windows instance, and I'm going to write everything that comes under Windows instance here in this particular window. So whatever that we are going to discuss, it will be written here in this particular window. So let's go ahead to the Chrome and let me connect to my AWS console. So this is the AWS Management Console. This is the AWS Management Console that we would require. So let me log back in to my account. So we will be logging in as a root user account only because we are no more, we are not IAM users. So generally in companies, root user would be the CEO or CTO of the company, and everybody else would be the IAM users. So because we are into EC2 servers, we are gonna search for EC2, and you can see here EC2 is nothing but virtual servers in the cloud. So I'm gonna click on this EC2 servers. So make sure whenever you're doing the practicals, make sure that your new EC2 experience is enabled, and make sure that your region is always in either Mumbai or Hyderabad, because these are the nearest data centers that we have in India. So Hyderabad has got some bugs to it, but it is still recommended to use Mumbai because of that. But if you're good to go ahead with Hyderabad, it's up, like you can go ahead with it, but you might face some little bugs in the Hyderabad region because since it is a new one, so it is quite common. So when you open your console, everything will be zero. Everything will be zero, and except for the security group, you will have only one default security group with every account of AWS that you get. So in order to launch any instance, we have to either click on, like you can go and click on this instances or instances running tab, or you can click this big orange button also. I personally prefer going over here because it always gives me a filter of instance running state, which will help me identify what are the running instances currently. So whenever you are logging off, please make sure that you make your instances running zero, because without doing so, you might get a bill generated for the resources that you are using, all through the night and all. So only we get 720 hours of free tier eligibility hours for the resources. So anyway, if you use more than 80% of your resources, if you use 80% more than of your resources, you will be getting an intimation through the mail stating that you have used 80% of your free tier eligible resources. Okay, so you don't need to worry for getting a bill because you will be getting intimated in beforehand. But to be in a safe point is always good. to avoid unwanted bills. Okay, so let's now come here and launch instances. I'm going to click launch instances. So you will get a console like this. So it is asking like give a name or a tag to the instance that we are launching. We can have 50 tags attached to each instances, because when we are working inside a company, the server should explain what this is talking about, what is the department it belongs to, which project it belongs to, whether it is a production instance or not, when it has been started, and when it will be done. So there are so many things that should be explained just by looking at the name and tag of a server. So since we are launching Windows, I'm just going to write here Windows instance. Okay. So now it is asking for Amazon machine image, which is nothing but the OS that we need to select. So you can click on browse more AMIs here. So now we have to find a Windows operating system with a free tier eligible tag like this, so that we will not get any bill. So let's scroll it up and find out where this Windows operating system is, which is a verified provider and as well as free tier eligible. So do we see this? So we have the server core based and 2019 releases and all. So I'm going to go ahead with the latest one, which is 2022 server based one. So I'm going to select this Windows instance OS. You will get all the details of what is the architecture it was created, when it was published, what is the root volume type, all those things. So, and it is a free tier eligible one. This tag is very, very important. I'm repeating it multiple times because you will, and if you use without free tier eligible tag, you might get a bill. So please make sure that you are using free tier eligible tags wherever you are using any resource. So let me show you how many instance types that we have. Currently, we have 426. So in 2022, we have around 311 or so, and 100 more instance types has been added to this instance type requirement, like the CPU and RAM combinations, out of which we are going to use T2.micro, which is a free tier eligible one. So you can see it here. Out of all the instance types that we have, T2.micro is having free tier eligible tag here. So we are going to go ahead with that only. Now coming to the key pair, in order to understand what a key pair is, you need to first understand something called security groups, which is a firewall thing. So let me explain it to you because it is a very technical concept. Let us go back to our console, our whiteboard. So for example, if we have a house, like imagine that we have a house, will we allow everybody into our home? You tell me. Will we allow everybody into our home? Only the relatives that we like, only the friends that we like will be allowed inside our home. Yes or no? Only the friends and the classmates or the people that we like will be allowed inside our homes. So in a similar way, in order to go inside any server, we would require a port opening. So basically, what is this port is nothing but a security group. So in order to connect from any laptop or desktop to your server, what happens is there will be a blockage called, if this is your EC2, the flow of traffic will be this way. The flow of traffic would be this way. So if the flow has to go in smoothly, there will be a port at the entry of your server. So this port is called as the security group. This port is called as the security group. We call it as SG. We call it as security port of entry to the traffic. This is called as port of entry to the traffic. So basically it is like a door at the entrance of the server to allow you inside. To give a typical example, it's like a bouncer at the pub door. Like you have to go through the bouncer only to go inside a pub. Okay. So now when it comes to the key pair is like even if we want to enter into our door also, we need to have a key to it. Yes or no? Without any key, we can't even enter into our homes. So that key is called as the key pair. Okay. So what will any bouncer will do? He has to check our authentication, whether we are 18 plus adults or not, in order to allow us inside any pub or any adult places. So in the same way, here also, at the security group port, we need to give our authentication with the help of key pair. So basically, it will unlock this security group door, this port, to allow you inside a server as an administrator. So I hope this analogy helped you to understand this technical concept. So for each operating system, you have a port associated with it. Okay. So in IT, we have 65,000 ports, out of which for Windows instance, the security group which is associated with Windows instance is RDP 3389. So whenever anybody asks for what is the security group that is associated with Windows instance, we have to give it along with the port range. So it is RDP 3389. So wherein RDP is nothing but remote desktop protocol. Remote desktop protocol. So this is RDP. So the security group that is associated with Windows operating system is RDP, and it is called as remote desktop protocol. Okay. And the key pair, whenever we are downloading any key pair, it is always downloaded in one format, which is .pem. So PEM is nothing but privacy enhanced mail. So which is an authentication encrypted file that we would require to give whenever we want to enter into our server. So these are the two things that we need to keep in mind about all these things. So now that we understood what is a key pair and what is a security group, let's go ahead and create a new key pair, and let's assign a security group to the instance that we are creating. So let's come back here. Let me click on create new key pair. I'm just going to name it as FDP since it is our FDP session. So there are two extensions to it. You will understand the second extension by the end of this session when we launch a Linux instance, like Linux server. So I've created the key pair, and you can see it has been downloaded in PEM format. Now let us edit this network settings, and currently we are not looking into any VPC settings here. So we can come here, and it is always recommended to change the name and the description of a security group so that you can identify it quickly whenever you are using it. So you can see RDP is pre-selected. How do you think it is pre-selected actually? Did I select this RDP port? Who selected it for me? Did I select this RDP port? It is already there when I am looking at it in the security group. How did AWS knew that I would require RDP? Because of the OS that I have selected. Because I have selected for a Windows operating system, AWS understood that I might require an RDP port, and it has already given it in the firewall section. And you can see the port range. And with the source type, I am allowing everybody. So I have three kinds of source types. So I can give either a custom IP address if I want to allow only a specific people or a specific set of people inside, or I can give my IP as an administrator to allow only myself to go inside this server, or I can give everybody on this planet. So basically, rules with the source of 000 by 0 allows all IP addresses to access your instance. That means everybody on this planet can access this server. Okay. Now, when we come to the configure storage part, we can see the root volume is asking for a minimum of 30 GB. So we can even give 300 GB also if we would require, but I'm giving only 30 because you can see here free tier eligible customers can get only 30 GB of SSD storage. So I'm investing all the 30 GB that I have to create this instance. Okay, once I have created this instance and connected to it successfully, what I'll be doing is after terminating it, I'll get this 30 GB back into my account, which I can invest on creating a Linux instance or any other instances that I want. But please make sure that you do not go overboard with your storage GB, because if you use more than 30 GB, you're going to get a bill generated for the more storage usage. So please make sure whatever the resources you are using, please make sure that you use it under 30 GB only. Okay, so that's it. You need to know. Let's and here in the summary section, you can specify how many instances you want to launch, and it has a little review part of what all the options that we have selected. Now let's click on launch instance. So we will be getting a pop-up message like this stating that successfully initiated launch of instance. So if we scroll it up, we can see various ways to connect to it. So first, let us just view the instance, how it is launched. So click on view all the instances. You can see the instance state is still pending. So let us wait for a few seconds. It will come into the running state. So before it comes into your running state, let's go ahead and see something. Like, in order to connect with anything regarding Windows OS, what are the three things that we require? What are the three things that we require? In order to, for example, if you want to connect with your Instagram account, what are the three things that we would require? Can anybody tell me? Password is a thing. Password. We need our username. And we will require an IP or DNS to connect with. An IP address or DNS to connect with. So these are the three basic things that anybody would require in order to connect with anything regarding Windows OS. But I have a question here. Our keypair is in which format? Our keypair is in which format? What is the format of the keypair that we are using? It is in PEM. .pem. But we need to convert it from PEM to password. That is the key here. So how can we convert it to PEM to password? So let's go ahead to the console and check whether we have all these three things. So let me just refresh once. It is already in the running state. The status check is initializing. So I'm going to connect to my instance or connect to my server. And you can see all the details here, like what is the public IP, what is the instance ID, private IP, all the other things that are associated with this particular instance. So I'm going to click on connect option here, or in the actions tab also, you will have a connect option. You can go ahead with anything you want. So I'm going to click connect here. And since our security group is RDP, we are RDP clients, and you can scroll it up and you can see here, we have DNS, username, but we don't have password. So here in AWS itself, it is giving us a little option to get a password. So I'm going to click on that. Now you can see the minute I click on get Windows password, it is asking like use your private key to retrieve and decrypt initial Windows administrator password for this instance. So how can I get my password? By converting my PEM window key pair file using this particular get password link. So I'm going to upload my private key file, which I have downloaded. So I'm going to go for downloads, and you can see I have fdp.pem here. So I'm going to select it, open the file, and you can see everything is in gibberish here. Why everything is in gibberish? Because it is an
private key.
Encrypted file. Okay. So now we have to decrypt the password. So I'm just going to click on decrypt the password. And now you can see we have all the three things. We have a DNS, we have a username, and we have a password. Now, can anybody tell me how can I connect from my local Windows machine, that means my laptop, to a virtual Windows machine? Like we got all the three things. We have all the three things here. But what is the software that I need to use in order to connect with my local Windows machine to virtual Windows machine? What is the software I need to use? PuTTY is for Linux operating system. So we need to use a software called RDC, which is nothing but remote desktop connection. Remote desktop connection. So do we need to install it, or do we already have it in our Windows operating system? For Mac people, you have to download an application called Microsoft Remote Connection. But for Windows operating system,
okay, only 12 minutes more.
We already have it in our system. It is by default, we get the RDC in every Windows operating system. So you can see it here, remote desktop connection. So I'm going to click on that, show options. Now it is asking for the DNS and the username. So do we have a DNS or not? Do we have a DNS or not? Already we have it. So I'm just going to go copy the DNS from here and paste it in the RDC. And now I have a username. So I'm going to copy the username, give it here in RDC, and I'm going to click on connect. So now it is asking a password. Do we have a password or not? Do we have a password or not?
Yes, we do have.
Yes, we have a password. So we are just going to copy the password and give it here. And we don't need to remember it or anything. Okay, because we are going to terminate this server within few minutes, and there is no confidential information in this server or so. So we don't need to worry for that. So I'm just going to click on OK. And it is asking like this is a remote computer. Do you authenticate this entry, or do you trust this connection? I'm going to say yes, I trust this connection because I'm going to do it. And now see what happens. So this is the virtual server that we have connected with. So we have given 30 GB of our storage also here. So let's see where our 30 GB has gone. The networks for no. So to come to this PC, we can see where our 30 GB has gone. And when we minimize the screen, you can actually see where, like, what is the host name of it, what is the instance ID, and what is the private IP address of this instance, public IP address, you know, which availability zone it has been launched to, what is the total memory used. All the information can be seen here. So if you want to go back to your original system, you just need to minimize this screen and you're back to square one where you have your local PC working up. So even though it is like, let me off this remote session, let me get disconnected. So even though it is your own personal PC, or even if it is a client PC or a company's PC, basing on the type of project that we have, sometimes we would require more than 1,000 softwares to be installed. And we know when we install the minute softwares or the heavy weight softwares or something like that, it will lag our PCs like hell. So it is not safe to always download all the required softwares for a project into your personal PC or even the company's PC. That's why what we'll do is we will be having this virtual Windows PC, like Windows instance, and we'll install whatever the servers softwares that we require inside the virtual one, and then we'll do our operations from the virtual server by connecting to it through RDC and do all the required things, and then supply all the chains or deploy all the changes that were made through the usage of all the software, all the project to a pipeline or something, you know, to the production instance or anything. So this is what actually would be done by using a Windows instance. So now that we have seen what is a Windows instance, I would like to immediately launch a Linux instance and show you some little differences that we have within Windows instance and Linux instance, so that you will understand what are the minute differences according to the OS, how it will change. So let me immediately go to the instances tab and terminate this particular instance, a Windows instance, and let me launch a Linux instance and connect to it successfully. Okay. So why I'm terminating Windows before connecting to Linux is my 30 GB is blocked in this Windows instance. So I don't want to get a bill. So I'll go to instance state here. I'll stop the instance, or I'll terminate. I should terminate the instance. Can anybody tell me, should I stop the instance or terminate the instance to get my 30 GB back?
Terminate, ma'am.
I have
Stop
to
the
terminate.
instance.
Stop the instance. It is like pausing it temporarily. I can restart it whenever I want. My 30 GB is blocked over there. I have to terminate it permanently to get my 30 GB back to my bank. Okay. So please do not stop it and start launching other instances, because it would cost you money for the storage that you are using. Okay. So now let me launch again. Now that you understood the process, let's do it together. The name, because I'm launching Linux instance, I'm giving Linux over here. And the OS, can I go ahead with Amazon Linux 2023 AMI, which is free tier eligible here? It is a Linux operating system. It is a free tier eligible one.
Yes,
And on top of it, it is a AWS one, which will be more compatible with the AWS service. So I'm going to select this operating system. So yes, it is a verified provider and it is a free tier eligible one. Instance type, I'm sticking with T2.micro again, which is the free tier eligible one. Key pair, I'm going to use the previous key pair only, which is FDP that I have been using currently. And when I come to the network settings, you will observe the first difference here. So what is this first difference is the security group which is associated with Linux instance is not SSH, but not RDP, but it is SSH. This is the first difference that you can observe from Windows to Linux actually. So I'm just going to make a comparative analysis here. Let me change it to some green or something. And I'm going to change it to Linux instance. Okay. So for Linux instance, I'm going to use the security group that is associated with security group that is associated with is SSH 22. So this SSH 22 is nothing but secure shell. So somebody on the YouTube are asking to tell the difference between stopping the instance and terminating the instance. So stopping the instance would keep your instance intact where you can restart it again, like it is like a pausing the instance for some time, but terminating is deleting it permanently. So if you stop the instance, all the resources will be intact. That means your volume, your 30 GB volume also would be safe and sound with that particular instance only. So on top of it, if you launch any instance, you need to pay for that extra storage that you are using. That is why terminating your instances is very important before you use or launch any other resources. Okay. I think I'm clear here in this regard. So now this is the first thing that first difference that we observed. The security group that is associated with Linux instance is SSH 22. Let's now continue. And I'm still going ahead with the same key pair. That means I'm still in the PEM format only. So that's not a need to worry. So here you will understand or observe a new difference where it is asking this EBS, it required for Windows instance is 30 GB. Whereas for the Linux instance, it is requiring only 8 GB. So you can see it here. So why it is requiring 8 GB is Linux is considered as a lightweight file because is it a CLI OS or a GUI OS? Linux is Linux based on CLI or GUI?
CLI.
CLI.
It is a complete CLI based OS. So that's why, because Windows is both GUI plus CLI, it is considered as a heavyweight file. Yes, exactly. And for Linux, it is a CLI based OS. That is why it is a lightweight file and it is requiring only less GB. With this 8 GB, how many free instances that we can launch? How many free instances that we can launch within, like with the, how many Linux instances we can launch within 30 GB? Windows, we can definitely launch only one. Free. So please don't get confused with 4 because 6 GB would be free, but for 2 GB you need to pay for, you need to pay the bill. So we can launch 3 Linux instances, 3 servers for free within the 30 GB of free storage that we get along with the free tier eligibility of the account. So now I'm launching only one. So let me, that's it. Let me launch the instance. So now, unlike Windows instance, so here we can keep a filter also, like instance state is equal to running. And same how we would keep some filters in Amazon or Flipkart. Like for example, if you want to buy red Adidas shoes, we'll go to the brand, we'll give Adidas or Puma as the brand and the color as red. So in the same way, we can filter out all the servers that we have within the servers. And you can see already our Linux is in running state. So before going to connect it, let me give you, in order to connect with any Linux instance, so we need IP or DNS, and we would require a username. But in this case, since it is not a GUI software, GUI OS, we would require a PPK file. So we need to convert our PEM file into a PPK file, which is nothing but PPK means putty private key. Putty private key. Putty private key. So in order to convert this, we are going to, like earlier here, we went ahead with AWS console because AWS console only gave us a little option to convert from PEM to password. But here, in order to convert from PEM to PPK file, we would require an external software, which is nothing but PuttyGen. So we would require an extra software called PuttyGen that we need to install from a third-party website. So I'll be copy pasting the website link here in the chat box, so you can get it, and I'll show you where you can find it in the Google as well. So you need to download this PuttyGen software, and in order to connect from local Windows machine to virtual Linux machine, now the dynamics change. So in order to connect from local Windows machine to local Linux machine, we would require a software called, like some of you have already said, it is Putty that we are going to use. Okay, so these are the two softwares you would require in order to connect with our virtual Linux machine from a local Windows machine. So these are the two differences that we can observe between a Windows instance and Linux instance. So it requires 30 GB. The security group that Windows is associated with is RDP 3389. And we would require to convert our PEM file to a password. And the software we use to connect with is RDC in the Windows instance case. In the Linux instance case, we have SSH22 as our security group, and we need to convert our PEM file to PPK file using a software called PuttyGen, and it requires only 8 GB to launch a Linux instance. And the software that we use in order to connect from our local Windows machine to virtual Linux machine is Putty. So let me show it to you where you can find this software. So basically it is Putty download for Windows. If you click on that, please don't go for the first link. Go for the second link, which is greenend.org.uk. So now in this particular link, you can see the first software that we are observing is Putty only. Okay. And last but third one is PuttyGen. So you can download any architecture, any extension which is compatible with your device. So that's not an issue. So this is the website where you can download these softwares. I'm just copy pasting the link to here in the chat box. I have made it, and you can connect to it directly through what I can say, your Mac OS terminal also. If you have Mac OS, you just need to run chmod 400 command by just giving the path of your PEM file where it is there and all. Okay. And if you don't wish to download any of these softwares, you can simply select it and you can click on connect, and you have an EC2 instance connect option here where you can, directly connect with your server online, but it is always safe and secure if you connect it with a separate terminal instead of online terminals. Like, I'm not saying it is not safe, but it is much more practical when you have your the separate terminal for it. Since we are SSH clients, so you can see here, this is our username and it is common for every Linux instance launch. So it doesn't change. The username will always be EC2-user only, irrespective of what device you launch your Linux instance with. And now we'll go for SSH client and we can see our DNS. So the only thing that we are requiring is the PPK file, which needs to be converted from PEM format to PPK using a software called PuttyGen. In my system, it is already there. So you can see this is the PuttyGen software. If you have a little key symbol at the back end of your logo, if you're getting confused with Putty and PuttyGen, you can remember the logos. Putty generator is nothing but a key generator. So like how we transform our PDF files to Word, Word to PDF, like we use so many online converters, right? In a similar way, we use PuttyGen software to convert it from PEM to PPK file. And this is Putty, where we have two little computers connecting with each other. You might ask me, ma'am, while creating a key pair, we have an extension of .ppk also. Why don't we use it? If you want, you can go ahead with that also to directly have a PPK file, but I'm not using it because I have faced a little bugs with the PPK file whenever I have tried to use it. So you can go ahead. There are n number of ways to do it. So you can either directly create a PPK file while creating a key pair, or you can use a Putty generator to convert your key from PEM to PPK, which is a standard method. So here, do I need to generate the key or load the key? Do I already have a key or do I need to generate a key? Can you tell me?
Generate.
I already have a key that is downloaded in my system, which is with the name of FDP. So I'll just load my key here. So I'll come, since it is a PPK generating file software, it will give you only PPK extensions. So please don't get worried for it. Simply click on all files and you can see your PEM file. So fdp.pem is our file. So I'm selecting it, opening it. It is giving me a message of successfully imported the foreign key. Now, do I need to save a public key or private key? Can anybody tell me? Should I save a public key or private key? Private key, because what is the full form of PPK? Putty private key. That's why we need to go with a private key for secured connections. So save private key. Yes. And I'm giving FDP only because the extension is going to change. And with this conversion, the job of Putty key generator is done. So I'm just going to close this software because I no more require it. Now I'm opening up Putty software to connect with my from my local Windows machine to virtual Windows machine. I'm going to use the Putty software. So here in the session logging area, it is asking for my host name or IP address, where I'm simply copying my DNS. You can even copy your public IP also. You can give anything you want. I'm giving DNS here. And in the SSH, because we are SSH clients, I'm trying to authenticate my entry with my key pair. So I'm clicking on auth, going for the credentials. And here I can see private key file for authentication. So I'm clicking on the browse option. And this is the file that I've converted just now in the PPK extension. So I'm opening it. So if you want to change some colors and appearance of this particular terminal, you can always use this appearance tab, okay, and the colors tab in the window to change the font size, to change the type of font that you're using, all those things. Simply click on open, and it is asking like, do you trust this connection? So I'm telling like, accept this connection, and I'm going to give what is the username that we are having common for every Linux instance. What is the username that I've showed you, which is common for every instance? EC2 hyphen user. So I'm going to click on enter, and you can see, voila, I'm connected to my virtual Linux machine here. So you can see which OS it is, and how I have connected to it. So in tomorrow's session, we'll learn how to create a website and how to connect to it, and how to balance the web servers, and how to automatically scale them in the next sessions. So this is how we connect with our Linux virtual machine. Okay. So that's it from my end. I just wanted to show you how to launch a Windows server and connect to it, and how to launch a Linux server and connect to it properly. And these are the differences that you can observe for the Windows instance and the Linux instance. So I hope you all have understood what is the purpose of EC2 servers in AWS, and what is the terminology of AWS that we use regularly, the differences between both the instances that we have launched. So that will be from my end for this today evening session. So if you have any questions, you can ask me now. Okay.
Hello, ma'am. Hello.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Is it Pushpalata, ma'am, who is talking
Yeah,
to
ma'am.
me?
Yeah, ma'am.
Hi, ma'am.
Other than Putty, what is the other alternatives for connecting Linux operating system? Other than
So
Putty?
we have like, yes, ma'am. So directly with the EC2 instance connect, you can connect with it. Okay. And connect with it. And if it is a Mac OS, you don't have to download anything. You can directly connect with your terminal as well. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for the great
So these are the
session. We
secured ways
extend
to
our
connect with.
wholehearted gratitude to our resource person, Reference Space with B, ma'am. To all our participants, thank you for your patience and commitment. We'd like to once again thank all 250 host colleges for their enthusiastic collaboration and valuable contributions. Thank you to the organizing team for their seamless, tireless efforts and their smooth execution of the program. And let's carry this forward and meet again tomorrow. Thank you. Hello. Hello.
Hello, ma'am, can you hear me?
This? Who is this? Is anybody trying to talk to me or what is happening?
Yes, ma'am. I have a few questions that I saw on the chat. I'll just ask them one by one to you. The
Yes.
first one is there a tie-up between software vendor and AWS, and how will the software license work?
Basically, that is not a license, like it is not a software vendor which is linked up with AWS, but it is a software source that we can use in order to connect with any SSH and Telnet clients. So since we are SSH clients in connecting with Amazon Linux, we are going ahead with PuTTY. So there are so many types of putties like Solar Putty, this putty and that putty, but this putty software is much more safer when compared to other softwares. So the most safest things I have provided, and I'm like there is no connection between Amazon the software vendor to the AWS, but it is one of the software resource that we can use securely in order to connect from our local Windows machine to virtual machine.
Thank you, ma'am. The next question is there a way to make a remote connection in the command window without using PuTTY?
Like if it is a Mac OS, you can do it. But if your system, like if you have a Linux operating system or a Ubuntu operating system, you can directly connect with the CLI that you have in your OS. But if it is a Windows one, you have only two options. That is to connect with the EC2 instance, and the other one is with the PuTTY only. So EC2 instance connect is the online connection that you can have, and PuTTY is the the terminal that you can get with the PuTTY. So
Thank you, ma'am. The next question is what are bootable properties?
yes, I have already answered to it, I guess. So bootable properties are nothing but the OS and databases properties, and the all, like for example, if we install a new software into our system, the first thing that happens is a path is created to that particular software into our C drive. So why only it is happening in the C drive? Because that is the only drive which will reboot if anything goes bonkers in our system. So that's why C drive is called as a bootable drive, because it has the rebootable properties inside that particular drive, because it contains OSs and databases.
Thank you, ma'am. The next question is can we create instance for a Windows 2012 server?
Yes, of course we can. So if it is, as long as it is supported by AWS, otherwise it will not be available in the AWS browsing AMI's column. So as long as it is there in the AWS browsing column, you can happily create an instance for that particular Windows server, like that particular Windows, version of Windows. You can use it to launch a server.
All right, ma'am. Thank you. That's it from my side.
So yeah.
Thank you, Yashasvi ma'am. Today's session was fascinating. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to share your knowledge with us.
Thank you, Jasmine. Thank you so much.
Sorry, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, Jasmine, please go ahead.
Yeah, I apologize. There was a technical issue. Yeah, so Brainovision in collaboration with dear sir and ma'am, I would like to announce a special program today. Brainovision in collaboration with AICTE has launched an internship program at just rupees 499 only for today. It is an online internship program that is available at 499 if you register today. And upon completion, you will be receiving a certificate from AICTE with their logo on it. We have been collaborated with AIC, All India Council for Technical Education, for technical programs we organize. I apologize. There was a technical issue. Let me start. Brainovision, in collaboration with AICTE, has launched the AICTE Brainovision internship program, which is available at rupees 499 only for today. We have been collaborated with All India Council for Technical Education for all the technical programs we organize, like internship programs, workshops, hackathons, boot camps, and FTPs. The internship program provides AICTE collaborated certificates to all successful candidates. The certificate holds significant value and enhances their resumes for future career endeavors. Benefits that you will receive are industry expertise. Candidates can interact with industry experts and gain corporate exposure. You will be working with real-time projects. Every intern will be building a project that will help boost their resume. Candidates will also be given placement assistance. We have 4 different durations: 2 weeks, 1 month, 45 days or 6 weeks, and 2 months internship program. You can select the duration according to your preference at just $499. An added advantage of the internship program is that you can select the month of starting the internship program according to your flexibility. All you need to do is select the month you prefer in the registration link. Suppose a student wants to get an internship in October, we would still recommend registering now because the offer for the internship at $499 stands only for today. Under the AICTE internship program, Brainovision provides a self-paced internship program at $499 only for today. Each day, the price will be increased by 50 rupees. The value of this program is 5,000, but only for today, this program is available for $499 to provide affordable education to the students. Once you register, you will receive a registration and payment receipt and an internship offer letter within 24 hours. You will be provided with an LMS account and internship access. There will be regular classes, assignments, and evaluations. Upon completion, you will be awarded with an internship completion certificate from AICTE. Let us see how we can register by clicking on the link. Why is the AICTE Brainovision internship program important? Upon successful completion, you will be receiving an AICTE certification, which will add great value to your profile. Industrial exposure and real-time projects, interactions with industry expert trainers come along with this program. Even students with no technical background can benefit from this program greatly. Your technical skills will be enhanced through the program. Moreover, this internship program is not only for students, but also for faculty who are tech enthusiastic. The technologies we provide are data science, ML with Python, Amazon Web Services and DevOps, and Java full stack. You can select any one technology for your internship program. AICTE Brainovision internship program comes with added benefits of receiving a training completion certificate and internship completion certificate from AICTE. You will also receive placement assistance and a letter of recommendation at the time of recruitment. The brochure includes a syllabus for each technology: data science, AWS, DevOps, and Java full stack. Brainovision was started in 2016, and through the years, these have been our achievements. And our alumni have been placed in some really prominent companies, as you can see on your screen. If you have any queries or clarifications, at the end of the brochure, there are some frequently asked questions. You can contact these numbers for the internship. And links, all these links will be available in the YouTube chat as well as a Zoom meeting chat. This internship is open to any degree students, first year, second year, third year, or fourth year. Thank you.
Thank you. So the word of thanks. Thank you very much, ma'am, for the great session. We extend our wholehearted gratitude towards our resource person, Yashasvi Survi, ma'am. To all of our participants, thank you very much for your patience and commitment. We'd like to once again thank the 250 host colleges whose enthusiastic collaboration and invaluable contributions have helped the program. Thank you to the organizing team whose seamless and tireless efforts have ensured the smooth execution of this program. Let's carry forward the knowledge and spirit for tomorrow. Thank you so much.